So today I thought, why not do a El Choco Red care guide made simple. So 7 steps, kind of key things just to get you on your way once you've received your El Choco Red. So let's get to it. Hey planting peeps, welcome and welcome back to NichesPlants. My name is Kanisha, also known as Niche, and on this channel we talk, live and love plants. So if that's your thing, which I'm assuming it is because you're here or you've been binge watching my videos, please do subscribe, hit that like button and share with anyone else you think would enjoy my content. Thanks. So today we are talking Philodendron El Choco Red 7-step care guide made simple. So I thought, initially I was like, you know what, let me do a deep dive, in-depth, thorough care guide. And I thought, oh no, are people really going to want that? They just kind of want quick, tell me what I need to do so I can get going. So that's what we're doing today. 7 steps. I'm going to try not to waffle too much and keep it precise and concise so you guys just have the steps to kind of get going as soon as you get your El Choco. So I hope this is helpful. Let's get into it. Okay, so step number 1 is rehabilitation. So you've bought an El Choco, it's been put in the post and it's on its way to you, or you've picked it up and you now have it and it's in its little container and you're at home. And what do you do? Well, me personally, and what I found has worked best for me, obviously I'm giving everything in accordance to my experience. Once I receive the box, I open it up, I leave it in the box and I put it in a location within my house that has medium light. Now, what is medium light? Let's start from the top. So direct light is when, say for instance, I'm by the window, if the sun was hitting my hand, that's direct light. Bright indirect light is me being at the window and I'm getting a flood of light, but it's not directly on me. So this is bright indirect light currently where I'm sitting. Now, medium light is this side of my hand is getting bright indirect light. This side of my hand is medium light because the light is coming across and spilling over. So it is getting light, but it's the overspill coming through the window. This is not direct because the sun isn't directly on my hand. So this is bright indirect light. This is medium light or medium indirect light, however you want to phrase it. So the plant has been traveling for a considerable period of time and it's been in a box, it's been dark. So just to kind of put it in bright or direct light, it's going to be like, ah! Like, you know, when you wake up in the morning, someone draws the curtains, you're like, oh my gosh, vampire mode. That's that. We don't want to do that to our plant. So I put it in an area that's medium light, open up the box. And I also do this because it's been traveling outside. Temperatures are very different in comparison to what your home is like. Now, my living space, generally when I get plants, I will open them up or open the box up, leave it in my living room because my living room is a little bit, I don't want to say colder because my living room isn't cold, but it's a little cooler than my bedroom, which is where I have most of my tropical plants. Now, I do that to kind of adjust it to the temperature of the living room before moving it in the bedroom, which is warmer by a few degrees. So I do that to start helping it to adapt and to climatize. Now, just a quick thing on rehab. If the plant has come in and it's in soil, if the soil is bone dry, give it a bit of water, not flood it, but just a little bit of water. Most of the time I find when the plants arrive, the substrate is still moist, whether that's moss or whether that's soil. If it's still moist, leave it, just let it settle absolutely fine. You don't want to disturb the roots, just let it acclimatize. Now, once I get the box and it's in my living room, I'll probably leave it in my living room for most of the kind of day, afternoon, and then the evening I'll move it into my bedroom. Why? In the evening, my bedroom is cooler than it is in the day. Now, it usually then balances out with the temperature that's in my living room. So I move it into my bedroom in the evening and it's still in medium light. So I'll put it in, I've got fireplace and then kind of alcoves on the side and I'll put it there because it's not getting direct light, it's medium light. So it's still the same environment, but just a different location. Now then, as obviously the day happens, the temperature will rise and it's still got medium light. That's me rehabbing it. So it's now moved from being in the living room where it's adjusted to, I've moved to the bedroom, to the place that it's going to be in. So I do that over a period of time. Now you can kind of work out within your own space. If you want kind of guidelines, I would have it once I've opened it in the living room and leave it there anywhere between 2 to 5 hours, 6 hours, just kind of do your day and then move it into the space that you want it to be. Now, if the space that you want it to be in is in bright indirect light, move it to somewhere that's a bit darker than that. So your medium light in the room that you want it to be in, and then move it into that position. So number 2, light. Now, following on from that, you can then move the plant into the space that you want it to be in. Now my El Chocos are in bright indirect light, but they do get a bit of direct light. So where they are, because they do climb, they're on the base of my IKEA greenhouse cabinet. Now in the morning they will get bright indirect light because they're in an east facing window. It goes east to southeast, and then as the sun moves around in the early afternoon, they probably get about 2 to 3 hours of direct sun. But the sun isn't harsh, just to note, the sun isn't harsh, so the leaves aren't being burnt and they're not going to fade because the sun is a soft direct sun. And with that, it's not the whole leaf, they kind of get dappled light because there's other plants around them, so they have the sun across them for 2 to kind of 3 hours of the day, and then the rest of it is bright indirect light. I also have grow lights. Now I have grow lights, I've got the full spectrum that I've got on Amazon. I can link them below if you're interested in those. And I found with these lights, they do, I think it's a combination of things, but they do help with the depth of color of the leaf, as well as having good red backs on them. So I found that a lot of my philodendrons like this light, so I thought, let's keep using it, why not? My verrucosums love it, my El Chocos love it, my gloriosum and my Atapuense / billeti love it as well, and they've got a good amount of color in the leaves, so I thought we'll do that for them. Now, key points on light, because I know I kind of talk them all over the place. So from getting it and you've rehabbed it, you've moved it into the space that you want it to be in, but it's in medium light. You then move it into the place you want it, so bright indirect light. Now if it has direct sun a couple of hours throughout the day, that's fine, as long as it's not harsh like southern sun. If it's southeast, fine, it's a bit softer. Southwest, again softer. If it's south, just be careful because the leaves can burn or they can fade, so you might get a more of a faded green than the deep dark velvet green that the El Choco is known for. But yes, bright indirect light, a bit of direct light is fine. If you want to add your grow lights to that as well, that's fine. Bear in mind, my grow lights are about 1 foot above my El Choco, so if this is the top of my leaf, then the light is up here, probably actually a bit more than 1 foot, but they're not close to the leaf, just so you know. It's kind of a light that spills over, it kind of casts over the plants, but it's not directly above them, just so you are aware of that. Number 3, humidity. Now with El Chocos, they can do perfectly fine in low humidity, because initially when I got my first El Choco, part of the rehab process, I put it in medium light, and that was in an open space. It was in my bedroom. Now the average humidity of my bedroom is between it's about 45% humidity. On the lower end it will drop to 40 if it's doing okay and I've got the humidifier on, then obviously it can go up to 50, 60, 70, but generally it is about 44% humidity. Now the El Choco did fine because I got my first couple of leaves that way, but I did realize that they take a little longer to unfurl because there's not that moisture in the air, so there's no slip on the leaves as they're unfurling. It just means there's a bit more friction, which isn't, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, it's just the environment, that's what it is. And if you don't have a unit to contain the El Choco and to increase humidity, don't worry, 44% is fine. If you can up it, great. So when the leaves do unfurl, they unfurl a little easier. I do find that when my El Chocos are in high humidity, I get leaves a little quicker and they're a bit more pristine. Again, you've got the humidity in the air, they can draw water from the air through their leaves, not just through the roots, so they're constantly moisturized, if you want to say it or put it in that way. They've got the fluids that they need, and again when they're unfurling their leaves, the process is just a lot smoother. Now if you've got your El Choco in an open area and you would like to increase the humidity, you can have a tray of pebbles, or I'd say more so perlite, because they absorb the water and then they release it through the air. Now obviously that also the same works with moss, because I do that with a couple of my plants. I put moss around the base so it holds the water, and then over the time as it dries, it obviously releases the water into the air. But remember, if it's in an open space, the water will dissipate a lot easier and quicker because there's nothing containing it. Now if you don't know, if you put plants kind of within the same vicinity, they do create their own ecosystem which increases the humidity within that space anyway. So if you do add a tray or a little bowl of water, or a tray with damp moss or perlite or little rocks in it, that will assist it, but it's something you're going to have to keep on topping up. But again, it's not a must because El Choco Reds do absolutely fine without a ridiculously high humidity. However, I do have my El Chocos in my IKEA greenhouse cabinet, of which their shelf is probably on average about 85 80 to 85% humidity. Now, as I said with that, I do find that I get leaves quicker and they do unfurl a lot easier, and the leaves are quite pristine. Do be prepared if you take, for whatever reason, your El Choco out of a confined space that has high humidity and you take it into a space which drops significantly in humidity. So for instance, if I took my El Choco out of the IKEA greenhouse cabinet at 84-85% and just straight into my bedroom open space at 44%, I would expect that the leaves will start to go brown or crisp slightly on the edge, because they're not as, the environment isn't as lush in regards to moisture. So it's adapting, and in adapting, you might get a bit of brown edges, a bit of crisping, a bit like what calatheas do. Don't panic, it's fine. It's part of the adaptation process, and okay, it might not look great. It doesn't necessarily mean that the next leaf will come out with brown edges. The next leaf might come out absolutely fine, or it might come out with a bit of a brown leaf, which you would just have to take off because it's adapting, and then the next leaf would be okay. So just so that you're aware of that. I have had that where El Chocos have changed their environment. The next leaf is quite brown and the veining is quite skeletal like. Just chop it off and the next leaf will be absolutely fine. Watering. So with my El Chocos, I water them about every 10 days. Now that's because they are in the greenhouse. There's obviously the humidity is high. As I've said before, they can absorb moisture through their the leaves, the face of the leaf. So they don't need to be watered as frequently. However, when they're outside of the greenhouse, I probably water them, well, once a week. Sometimes if it's summer, it could be every 4 days, 5 days, but on average it's about once a week. And when I do water them, I water them so that there's a drops coming out of the base of the container. All the containers that I put my El Chocos in have drainage holes. Absolutely all of them. So when I do water them, I wait for there to be a few drips out of the drainage hole, and then I just leave it until it kind of gets medium dry. I do have a little moisture meter that I use, but generally I can kind of feel the pot and know whether it needs to be watered or not. And as you water your plants, you will get more experience without be able to just kind of feel the weight of the pot and know whether it needs water or not. I do filter my plants with filtered water. Now it doesn't mean I don't do that 100% of the time. Sometimes if the filter's not up or I need new filters and haven't got any, I will use tap water. My tap water is a little on the hard side. I know water can be really soft, some can be quite hard. Mine's a little on the hard side. I would say I probably water them with kind of normal tap water 2% of the time. Literally every other time is with filtered water, and that goes for all of my plants. And I would say, having experimented with some other plants, that does contribute to how well the leaves come out. Well, I think with the harder water, my tap water, leaves are more likely to have brown edges, but when they're filtered, they don't, because obviously everything that's in the water has been filtered out. That's not good for them. So just another tip. I know some people like to catch rainwater and water their plants that way. You can do, if you can, absolutely great. I don't have the time for that, so I filter my water and water them that way. Now, in thinking about the plant substrate, now I say substrate because I've experimented a little with my plants. Now I'll say currently I have plants in a mixture of cocoa coir, bark, perlite, cocoa chips, cocoa coir, bark, moss and perlite. Now let me just differentiate, because some of you who watch my other videos, you'll be like, yeah, but you've got this and you've used this. Just to clarify, I've used perlite and I've used moss solely for propagations, just to kind of get the roots going, to make sure they're substantial and they're good enough before potting them by themselves. But when they're actually potted, the majority of the substrate is cocoa coir. I'll throw in a bit of bark, cocoa chips and a little bit of perlite, and that's pretty much my mix for them. Now if you don't have all of that and you just got cocoa coir, you can just use cocoa coir. Absolutely fine. You don't have to have all those elements, but I like to have it because it forces the roots to kind of make their way around, be a bit stronger. They've got something to hold on to. El Chocos do climb if you provide the moss pole, because they do have aerial roots. So I do that just to kind of strengthen the roots, but also to add more aeration into the substrate, so that they've just got more flow of oxygen and then basically healthier roots. So that's my substrate. It's pretty simple. That's the mix that I use. I would say that I have 60% cocoa coir, 20% orchid bark, 10% perlite, or 10% cocoa chips, or 5% of each, depending on what you want to do. The other 10% comes in talking about fertilizer. Now, I do fertilize my plants. Now, I do not fertilize them that much within the winter. I probably fertilize them end of October, early November, and then I don't fertilize them. And then I start fertilizing them. I think I started probably a couple of weeks ago, so mid-March, just once a month. Generally, when I fertilize my plants through spring and summer, it will probably be every watering, because I use half of the recommendation that's given on the container, or every other week. Now, when it comes to substrate, sorry, I'm going all over the place. The other 10%, as I said, is fertilizer, is worm castings. Now, worm castings, also known as worm poo, this is what I use, which is, you can say, biohumus, which is worm casting, worm poo. Basically, I'll show you what it looks like. That is what it looks like. I will link that down below if you would like to try it out. Basically ordered it off Amazon, and I put that into all of my substrate and put every plant with worm castings in it, whether that's just pure coca coir or is coca coir mixed with perlite and bark, whatever the mixture, there is worm castings in it. Now, worm casting is great because it provides several nutrients to the plants, but also it's easy for them to absorb, and it's a natural fertilizer as well, so you don't have to worry about burning the roots. So much so that some farmers or producers literally would just use worm casting for propagations and new shoots. They'll plant the seed in or the bulb and let it grow in 100% worm castings and then pot it up accordingly. So you can experiment with that if you want to. I've not tried that, but I do put worm castings in every mixture. Second to that, specifically in light of my El Chocos, there is another fertilizer that I use. So when I put them up, I have worm castings in them. Throughout the winter, I do not fertilize them. Coming on the spring, I will then fertilize them once a month. Summer is pretty much every week, but with half of or quarter recommendation from the product that I'm using, and then do that on repeat. And that is Orchid Focus from, what's this called? Growth Technology. Here it is. And this is what I use. And as you'll see, it does say Orchid Focus. It is made for orchids, but we know that orchids are also within the arrowhead family, and they are what are they called? I can't remember what they're called, but they climb and sit on stuff, you know what I mean. And El Chocos do that as well. Now, this has got several amazing properties, and it says contains all essential nutrients, plus it has seaweed. So I'm going to read out some of those nutrients, which is nitrogen, phosphorus, pentoxide, potassium oxide, calcium oxide, copper, iron, magnesium, molybdenum and zinc. Also contains, as we said, magnesium, sulfur, boron, humic acid, fulvic acid, and those are the extra two that I would say are those special ingredients, which is the humic acid and fulvic acid, and very, very beneficial to your plants and also your El Chocos. As I said, it's got the seaweed in it as well, and they do really well with it. As I said, within a litre container, I will use about 2.5 ml or 2 ml, just a little square in there. A litre, no, I'm lying, it's a litre and a half that I use. My water carton is a litre and a half, 2.5 ml in there, and I water them, and they really like it. I get good, lovely, luscious leaves. I'll show you some, and this is my go-to. Yeah, and you can find it anywhere. If you want to try it out, I'll put a link down below, and you can get them in smaller containers as well as larger containers, so all sizes, but this is what I use. So this is my go-to fertilizer at the moment. So if you think there's other fertilizers that I should potentially try to see how they do, then let me know. I'm always happy to try new things and obviously give my plants the best that I can. So if this isn't the best and you think there's something else that I should be using, let me know in the comments below. I hope this guide is helpful. I just want it to be kind of simple and hit the key points in regards to looking after your El Choco. If you would like a more in-depth guide, then do let me know. Or if you've just got questions, then throw them in the comments below or hit me up on Instagram and I'll help you out as best I can. Just note, guys, I do have a buy me a coffee link down below. I know some of you wanted to kind of just say thanks for the advice and help you receive. So if you would like to do the same, that is there. So for now, dare to dream, live to grow. grow. Thanks for being here with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.